symptoms of bhava. So there are 8 symptoms of bhava, but they can be imitated. Therefore, Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he describes another 9 symptoms, and they are reliable symptoms of bhava. And these 9 symptoms are difficult to imitate, and especially if people try to sustain this imitation for a long time, it's very difficult. So the first ashta, the first one, the ashta sattvika, they are described as crying and perspiration and stunning. The 9 reliable symptoms are described as being very attached to chant the holy name, being very attached to live in the places where Krishna performed his pastimes in the holy dham, or people, the devotees on this level, they never waste time. They're always engaged in Krishna consciousness. So these things are difficult to imitate. These Ashta Sattvika symptoms, and Srila Prabhupada actually in the purport to the previous verse, he says that Bharata Maharaj experienced all of them. All of them. They appeared in his body, in his consciousness. So we are happy to have a glimpse of at least one of those, but we consider ourselves very lucky. But he had all of them. So they are part of what is known as Rasa Tattva, the science of rasa. Rasa is defined by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and explained by Dhanurdhara Maharaj in his book, in his milestone book, famous all over ISKCON book, Waves of Devotion. It is described as the sweet juice from fully ripe fruit. This is rasa. It's a taste, actually. So therefore, that's why we like to eat fruits, because they're juicy and they have sweet taste. Nobody wants to eat dry fruit. I mean, people eat also dry fruits, but when they're dry. But if you have fresh fruit, which is not juicy, then there is no juice. So we are not supposed to eat just to fill up our stomach with something, but we're supposed to experience taste while eating. Actually, according to Ayurveda, this is how you digest the food. If you like the food, if the food is tasty, then you digest it. Of course, not always we have to eat everything that is tasty to our senses, because sometimes it's unhealthy. But this is one of the main principles. And therefore, we are looking for rasa everywhere in food, and most of the time, I mean, most importantly, in relationships with other living entities. This is in the beginning of Nectar of Devotion. Rupa Goswami, Srila Prabhupada explains that this is the inherent nature of the soul. We're all searching for rasa in a relationship with other people, other living entities. And therefore, people enter into different types of relationships. Therefore, people get married because they want to experience different rasas. They want to experience the conjugal relationship with the wife or the husband. Then they want to have kids. This is the parental relationship. Then friends. This is the friend, the Sakya rasa. Actually, there is one very interesting purport from Chaitanya Charitamrita where Srila Prabhupada explains that all these rasas are, all these types of relationships are actually present in the material world. And he says that, for example, in our house, we are having a Shanta rasa relationship with our furniture. This is a Shanta rasa, neutral relationship. And then if you are a little bit well-to-do, you have your servants at home. Of course, even if you're not so well-to-do, then if you go to Mayapur, then you have a maid there, probably, maybe more than one. And then that's the nature of Mayapur. Mayapur is like this. And then you have your friends, and this is the Sakya rasa, and then you have your children, and then your wife or husband. So everybody is searching for rasa, and because this is this Ashta Sattvika symptoms, they describe the spiritual. They are element of the spiritual rasa, because the material rasa is it's called Jada rasa. That means it's death actually, and for the spirit soul to look for satisfaction in that material objects, it is very frustrating and very morbid experience actually. Although for a while it may look very promising, very short while. The real satisfaction comes from spiritual relationships with Krishna and with Krishna's pure devotees. Only there, then we can be truly satisfied. So Rupa Goswami describes in Nectar in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Prabhupada describes in Nectar of Devotion, which is a summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, describes this rasa tattva. It's a very fascinating description. First, we have what Rupa Goswami calls vibhava. Vibhava has two elements. It is the first element has two sub-elements. The first element is Krishna and the devotee. So if you want to have a relationship or rasa, then you need a subject and object. Object of rasa, it is called Vishaya. Krishna is the Vishaya, he is the enjoyer of rasa. And then we have the Ashraya, which means the devotee who is the shelter of this rasa, this particular type of affection and love for Krishna. And then in order for this rasa to manifest, you need stimuli. This is called udipam. It is present in the heart of the devotee, but for this bhava to manifest, then it needs some stimuli. And these are basically, the stimuli, the udipanas are basically Krishna and his wonderful qualities, his paraphernalia, his devotees, Krishna's beauty. For example, when we can give even mundane example, when the mother sees the small shoes of her child, then her love, natural love for the child, which is already there in her heart, is invoked, is stimulated, and then she may do something as a reaction for this. The same happens with Mother Yashoda, with the devotees in Vrindavana, when they are in contact with this udipan stimuli for bhava, then this bhava manifests. So when the udipan, the stimuli are there, then the devotees manifest their bhava, their love for Krishna. What they do, this is called anubhava. Anubhava means what follows bhava, naturally. It is a spontaneous reaction to the stimuli of bhava. And the devotees they also described in Nectar of Devotion, the devotees, they may start dancing, they may start cry out, shout, loud, and they may start singing. These are completely spontaneous reactions. They are already above and beyond the call of duty, the rules and regulations. The devotees don't think, oh, my guru is entering the room, I'm supposed to stand up and offer obeisances. I don't really feel so tired today. I don't really feel like, but anyway, this is my duty. I have to do it. It is not like that. It is completely spontaneous. Still, there is a usage of intelligence in this action. Intelligence is still working. And this is important to note because this is the main difference between the Anubhavas and what Bharata Maharaj was experiencing, Ashta-sattvika symptoms or Ashta-sattvika bhavas. Sattvika bhavas just happen. They appear, they occur in the body of the devotee without any interference with the intelligence. It just happens to you. What happens is that the acharyas explain the spiritual potency, bhava, because this is exactly how bhava is described in Nectar Devotion. It is defined as prema suryamshu, the ray of the spiritual potency of the Lord, which contains Hladini Shakti, the pleasure potency, and Samvit, the knowledge potency of the Lord. They enter the mind of the devotee to such a degree, they permeate the mind to such a degree that they become one with the mind of the devotee. So this is finally the point when we don't have to fight with our mind, this long years of struggle with the mind, the mind is the best friend and the worst enemy. You watch out the mind. Then finally this moment arises when the mind is spontaneously attracted to Krishna. It becomes spiritualized. Basically, we get back our spiritual mind. Of course, even from the level of bhava, one can fall down. We'll talk about this later, maybe not today, but in the next classes, because now we're gonna read about this pastime. So then the spiritual potency of the Lord enters the mind of the devotee, substitutes the mind basically, and the mind becomes naturally attracted to Krishna. So this is Krishna's mercy actually. We cannot force this to happen. We should have strong desire, but it happens when Krishna desires to happen. Nothing we can do about it to force this on Krishna. He'll do it on his own, because in his own way, in his own time. So this there is very interesting purport by Srila Prabhupada. He says that, describing the mind, Prabhupada says that when the mind is fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna, then the mind turns into Krishna consciousness. So this is the amazing way in which Srila Prabhupada summarizes all this technical knowledge given by the acharyas, describing how Prema Suryamshu, how the ray of spiritual potency enters the mind and permeates the mind and basically substitutes the mind. It's very technical description if you read Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Prabhupada just says the mind turns into Krishna consciousness. It acquires again its original spiritual quality. Right now our mind is attracted to matter, but originally our spiritual mind is attracted to Krishna. So this is what happens, and this is the Ashta-sattvika symptoms. They are when this happens, they appear in the body, but they just happen. Intelligence doesn't play any role in this. They just happen. They just appear. And Rupa Goswami describes that there are different levels of manifestation of these symptoms. In the first level, they're just, I think it is described as smoking. There is fire, but you cannot see the fire, you just smoke. So one symptom appears, and then it is easily concealed. The devotees, they conceal these symptoms. At least the advanced devotees do. Then the next level, more than one, 2 or 3 appear simultaneously in the body, but still the devotee with endeavor can subdue them. And then the next level, more symptoms appear, 3 or 4, and they appear with such a force that they cannot be concealed anymore. Nothing you can do about it. They just overtake the body. What happens is that they disturb the elements of the body, the gross elements. When the water elements is disturbed by, of course, we say disturbed, but actually we are looking forward for this type of disturbance to happen. Of course, we're not only looking forward, we are trying also to perform devotional service and to convince Krishna that we are serious. It's not just that we are waiting for a miracle to happen. So this disturbance means that they the natural constitution of the body changes. So when the water element is disturbed, then by this bhava, then tears start flowing. When, for example, the fire is disturbed, then the body starts perspiring. Or when the earth element is disturbed, there is the stunning, the bodies cannot move. So all these symptoms, they appear, and then this is the 3rd level, and then the 4th level is even more symptoms appear with even stronger force. It's I think it's called blazing. First is smoking, then there is fire, then there is a raging fire, then there is even stronger fires like a forest fire. And then the 5th level is actually manifested only by Srimati Radharani and Mahaprabhu. It's exceptional. All symptoms appear with such a force that it is, there are no descriptions in the whole human history of such things. You can read all kinds of religious books about different saints, different traditions, different great achievements, but you never find such descriptions of symptoms of love of God like we find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Chaitanya Bhagavata, or in the other books describing Srimati Radharani's experiences. You never find this. This is the highest level of love of God, and it is only logical that has been experienced and demonstrated by the Lord himself. So Bharata Maharaj was so advanced that he experienced all this. Okay, and then just to finish the short summary of this Rasa Tattva, then there is something which is called Vyabhichari Bhava. There are 33 types. These are different emotions which appear in the mind of the devotee, which are contrary to the main emotions that is possessing them. And therefore they're called sanchari. It moves, or vyabhichari, it moves against the current and creates a position. And because of this, it only deepens the emotional experience and serves as in this way, the main emotion becomes more prominent, even more prominent, because it creates a contrast. And Krishna enjoys even wider variety of rasa, of different enjoyments. So all these elements, and of course we have to add the sthai bhava. Sthai bhava means the main type of love that the devotee experiences towards Krishna. And we know there are 5 of those, and 7 subsidiary, which actually, technically, the acharyas explained that they're actually sattvic, they're vyabhichari bhavas. They're one of these 33. Anyway, so Bharata Maharaj was so advanced that he experienced all of this. Prabhupada says that he experienced all of them. All ashta-sattvic symptoms were present in his consciousness. And he was so advanced that he lost attraction for the regulative principles. It doesn't mean that he did not follow these regulative principles. It means only that he lost attraction. His motivation for performing them was not coming from duty, but was coming from spontaneous affection for the Lord. He did not depend on them. It's interesting also that later on, when he developed this material attraction to this deer, he also kind of lost attraction for regulations. But this was because he became materially attracted to this animal. So it was different, completely different situation. And it's also interesting to point out that Bharata Maharaj, he justified his, basically his fall down from his spiritual practice. This is how we do it. When we bloop, we have our own way to justify this. We have excuses, and often we are so bewildered that we think that our falling down is actually a advancement. Because Tamaguna works in this way. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes that ignorance means you take dharma for adharma and you take adharma for dharma. So in our mind, we justify our discrepancies by convincing us that actually this is a sign of advancement. I'm actually advancing now. Well, how did Bharata Maharaj do that? He thought that this is his duty to take care of this animal, because he shouldn't be selfish. He should not be concerned only with his own spiritual advancement, but he should also be compassionate to others, to other living entities. This deer, nobody protects him, nobody takes care of him. He doesn't have mother, father, nobody's there for him. So that's how he justified his falling down. He became, Bhagavatam says, just for a few days. It took him a few days to have the association of this deer, and then he became slackened in his spiritual practice. So it is important. This is very important, because we probably do the same. Maybe right now we are having our own justification. Why are we not chanting the holy name attentively? Why are we not seriously engaged in sadhana bhakti, etc.? Or even worse, we may think that our degradation in our practice is actually a sign of success. Can be both. So Bharata Maharaj told that this is described by the acharyas in their commentaries to this verse that we just read, verse 13. Bharata Maharaj told that his ecstasy is an obstacle for his sadhana, and therefore he tried to kind of stabilize himself through intelligence. Therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami both, they say that he began to worship the Lord by chanting this mantra. Apparently, he wanted to stabilize his emotional life through intelligence, and he thought that this is a good way to do it, by chanting this specific mantra, which is very similar to the Gayatri, and which emphasizes the Supreme Lord who is protecting all living entities by giving them intelligence. The Dami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Intelligence, knowledge comes from Krishna, and it dispels the darkness of ignorance. Just like the sunrise dispels the darkness of the night. So in the same way, when we chant our Gayatris, then this is one of the important elements. We have to meditate. We take shelter of Krishna because he is the giver of intelligence. And by Buddha Bhava Samanvidika, when we have intelligence, then we surrender to the Lord. And also when we perform devotional service, we gain intelligence also. It goes also other way around. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojiteha Janatyashvairagyam Jnanam Chahata Ahaitukam. So by performing bhakti, we receive causeless knowledge and renunciation. So bhakti is the devotional service is the only independent process, actually. All other processes, karma or jnana, they depend on bhakti. They cannot give their fruit unless there is some mixture of bhakti. That means everybody has to recognize the Lord. The karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, if they want to attain their respective goals, they must recognize the Lord. And if they offend the Lord, as Mayavadis do, they will never attain their goal. Therefore, the Mayavadis, they never attain liberation, actually. So the Gayatri mantras, they describe these three main topics of the Vedas in a very concise way: Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojana. So they describe the relationship, the position. We are meditating on the Lord, me, the spirit soul, in the material body. I meditate on the Lord. So this is the Sambandha aspect, because Sambandha Gyan describes three elements. Chit, Achit, Ishvara describes God, material world, and the living entity. So then Abhideya, then the process, devotional service. By this process, we attain the goal, prayojana, which means the ultimate necessity of the soul, which is love of God. Okay, thank you very much for your kind attention. If you have questions or somebody wants to share something.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribo.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for that wonderful exposition on Rasa Tattva. Yeah, we definitely needed that systematic breakdown. Of the nectar of devotion. Yeah. So, with regards to distractions in devotional service, how do you just like snap out of it? Because with Bharat Maharaj, it's like, with any like great devotee, you see a long period of performing very nice devotional service, and then there's a very short period of just not being focused, and then it just like derails the practice. So Guru Maharaj, I asked him this question in a different way, and he said there's like a smidgen. It's due to a smidgen of anartha in the heart.
What's the smidgen? Sorry, I don't know.
It's like very small, small.
Okay.
Very small trace amounts of anartha in the heart, even at the stage of bhava.
Yes.
So, how do you just like get back on track, and almost like not be degraded by that small distraction? So, for example, in Bharat Maharaj's case, could he have recovered himself out of that attraction for the deer and not have to take birth as a deer.
Yeah, the acharyas described that one of the reasons, I think the main reason, is because he didn't have association. He didn't have, there were other sages around, but he didn't take actively, he didn't search out, he didn't reach out for their association. So he was on his own. And although he was very advanced, it's like when you are in a good shape and you go out hiking or camping out somewhere in the wild, and you're on your own, young, energetic person, and you think I can take care of myself. But then if something happens, then let's say you get some injury or something, you fell sick, then there's nobody there to help you. So in the same way, in the spiritual life, therefore we require the association of the devotees. So in my experience, this is very practical and very quick fix. Quick fix, not in a bad way. It's very quick and efficient fix when you have good friends who are not hesitating to tell you honestly, to give you honest feedback when you are in Maya. Therefore, also the spiritual master. But the spiritual master, the problem there is that he's not always available. And therefore, we need a strong network of community, of cultivating deep friendship with the devotees, and convincing them that they're welcome to tell us when we are wrong. That's a subtle point, because especially in the Western world, people are more impersonal, and then even if they see something, in the New York subway, there is very often you see, if the New York Police Department and the MTA, they have this advertisement. If you see something, say something. In other words, don't be so impersonal, because if you see something strange and you don't say anything, you may be one of the victims of what will unfold very soon. So better you say something. So in the same way, we have to convince the devotees that if they see something wrong with us, they have to say, they have to tell us. Because it's not always the case, because devotees are scared. They don't know how we will react. So this is our duty to convince them. Maybe not everybody, maybe not many of them, but at least few, some, at least one person. So this is, I think, something very practical. Another thing is usage of intelligence, buddhi yoga. But we see that it didn't work with Ajamila, for example. Ajamila understood that he's in trouble. He tried his best, but it didn't work for him. Didn't work with Bharata Maharaj. Bharata Maharaj was so attached to this animal that he didn't even try to. There was not even a discussion. He just decided that no, that's what I'm supposed to do. Is this okay, Prabhu? That's what I can say.
Yes, Prabhu, this is a great answer. Thank you. So basically, just to put into perspective what you're saying, just as Ashraya is required for Vishaya. So in order for the Lord to actually enjoy the rasas, he needs the shelter. In the same way, for devotees who are not yet on Krishna Prema, could you say that the Ashraya is the regulative principles and in the association of devotees?
Yes.
And to actually give these up, it's very risky because of those trace amounts of anartha in the heart that can actually derail the practice of a practitioner who's not on the level of prema.
Yes, exactly. And I was just listening to the lecture of Srila Prabhupada, and he was explaining that you cannot become a devotee unless you become a brahmana first. That means first we have to be established in the mode of goodness. And then Prabhupada says, and therefore, because you're not on that level, if you go somewhere on your own and you start chanting, you pretend that you're like Haridas Thakur. This is a fraud. You are ungenuine, because your mind is not peaceful. Definitely not. You're not Nashochati Nakangshati. The mind will disturb you, and you're just making a show. Therefore, association with devotees is essential, and actually it's even more important than chanting the holy name, because by associating with the devotees, we'll be inspired to chant the holy name better and better. And if we are in our own, then the result won't be so good. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gita Nagari ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.